Well, I want to talk to you a little bit this morning about your growth plan, your personal growth plan. This is one of the things that I've been challenging our leadership on. And actually, our leadership meets once a month, the first Sunday of every month. And one thing that I challenged them with this past Sunday was to write down your personal growth plan. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. That's all there is to it. If you're not advancing, there's no such thing as staying put. In nature, we can see it in nature. If a tree's not growing, it's dying. If the grass isn't growing, it's dying. Okay? So we need to determine in our life, are we dying or are we growing? Are we moving forward or are we going backwards? Am I at the beginning of my life or am I at the end of my life? I want to, when it's time for me to go into eternity and be with the Lord, I want to be moving forward the entire time. I never want to stop. They asked John Maxwell one time, when are you going to retire? When will you write your last book? He said, I'll write my last book when I draw my last breath. I'm always going to be moving. I'm always going to be doing. If I'm not standing in the pulpit, I'm going to be training somebody to stand in the pulpit. If I'm not teaching, I'm going to be training someone to teach. I'm always going to be moving forward. But the problem that we run into is in our society and in our thought processes, we are afraid to dream. We become scared to dream. Because every time we dream, somebody is there ready to tell us why you cannot do that. You can't be that. You don't have enough education. You can't be that. You're not talented enough. You can't, well, I like to debunk things. I like to fight against things a little bit. And I'm here to tell you, you can do what you want to do if you're willing to put the work in. If you're willing to pay the price. It's as simple as that. If you're willing to go the distance, if you're willing to move forward, if you're willing to sacrifice the things, we talked last week about we keep asking for a move of God. I want a move of God. I want a move of God. I want a move of God. But when it comes down to where the rubber meets the road, we're not paying the price for the move of God. How do I know that? When there's 5 or 6 people that show up to special meetings, and we call a prayer meeting. We've got a prayer meeting coming up next Friday night. The third Friday night of every month from 7 to 8, we're going to pray for 1 hour. And it's just us. No. I'm leading it. Okay? So, and we are going to learn to pray. Okay? It'll be good. I promise. All right? No spookies. Okay? We're going to go through the process of, and we're going to begin to pray. And we're going to begin to learn the process of prayer. Why an hour? Did you ever wonder that? Why do we say you're going to pray for an hour? Jesus, when he went on the mountain, took 3 disciples with him, and they fell asleep, and he came back, and he laid a principle. He said, can't you pray with me at least 1 hour? At least 1 hour. So the length of time for these prayers, these type of prayers, needs to be at least 1 hour. That's why we're doing it that way. Okay? Jesus asked if we could pray with him for an hour. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go through that process. But here's the thing. I want to move of God. I want to move of God, but I'm busy. Really, what you want to do is you want to ride the ride without putting the work in. You know, we want to get the wave of God moving, and then you want to jump on your surfboard and join. Not willing to pay that extra price that it takes. Every great revival has been birthed through prayer. It's been people who've been willing to put the time in to birth that move. They have a dream, they have a vision, and they're willing to put the time in necessary to see that vision come to fulfillment. If you have a vision and a dream to start a business, Can you just sit back on your porch and wait for this business to materialize? All of a sudden, somebody's going to drop a sign off at your house with your business name on it. Is that how it works? You wish. You have to go and you have to begin to put the work in. You've got to apply for the business license. If you need to borrow some money from the bank, you've got to write a business plan. You may have to go sit down with the Small Business Administration and get advice. One of the best things is to find somebody that's doing what you want to do and learn. I'm not about reinventing the wheel. I want to find the guy that invented it and learn from him. One of the keys to successful people find those that are doing what they want to do and then learn how to do it better. Take it to the next level, take it to the next place. Over in 1 Timothy chapter 4, in the New King James Version, 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12. I can't begin to tell you how many times people sit in my office and I talk with people that they say, I've been told I can't accomplish this. I've been told I can't do this. I've been told that I've sinned too much. My life's over with. God can't use me because I've done this. God can't use me because I've done the other thing. I'm here to tell you that that is hooey. Look that up in the dictionary if you need to. Okay? That's not true. Verse 12, let no man despise your youth. One of the greatest excuses people always like to say is you're too young. Or they like to turn around after that and say you're too old. I'm here to tell you you're neither. Let no man despise your youth, but be an example to the believers in the world. How? In conduct, in love, in spirit, in faith, in purity. This is how we're to be living. This is how we're to be living our life. This is how we're supposed to chase our dream. This is how we are to fulfill our call. How long? Till I, the Lord, come. Give attention to reading, to exhortation, to doctrine. Do not neglect the gift that is in you. I need you to wake up and hear this right here. Do not neglect the gift that is in you. Who is you? Everybody go, me. You are a you. This is talking about you, Brenda. You know, people say, oh, I don't have any gifts. Everybody has a gift. Everybody has a gift. The problem is we neglect it. How do we not neglect it? We read. How many times have I put you on that? What are you reading right now? If I was to go and sit down with you and said, what book are you reading right now? Some of you would pull the spiritual answer and I say, I'm reading the Word. Okay, that's great. I am too. But what book are you reading right now that advances and is equipping your gift right now? It's interesting, isn't it? If you can't look at me and say, this is the book I'm reading right now to advance my gift, you're neglecting your gift. You're not putting the work in necessary to get better. Some of the most successful businessmen in our area, one of them came and did a speech to our graduates a couple of years ago, United Technical Center. And he said, my goal is to read 10 books a year. All of them on the subject of leadership and business. He's one of the most successful businessmen in our area. Why is he one of the most successful businessmen in our area? He reads 10 books a year on how to be a successful businessman and how to be a successful leader. He's putting that time in. Exhortation. You know, you can neglect your gift by hanging out with the wrong people. People that don't believe in you. People that are continually tearing you down and tell you why you can't. That's neglecting your gift. You're not nurturing that gift. You're not in the right soil. In doctrine, that is the principles of God. Am I learning the principles of God that apply to my gift? My gift being in business. How do I conduct my business? In love, in faith, and in purity. That's how I conduct my business. So in this process, in our growth plan, in that plan that I want to develop myself, the first thing that we have to do is first we have to be awakened to and realize what our dream and gift actually is. And is it a dream that is a pipe dream, or is it actually a gift that God's given to me? So many times we materialize our dreams. They're immature. What's your dream? Well, my dream is to own a Maserati. Is that a mature dream? Or is that a desire? Is that a gift? I'd like to be a gift. Somebody wants to give me one. That's okay. But see, with me, I'm of the size that I'll sell it and buy a truck. But, anyway, what is that dream that's inside of you? And then is it a dream or is it a desire? When the two line up, then I can accomplish something. I can begin to study. I can begin to look. I can begin to develop. Do not neglect the gift, which was given to you by prophecy with the laying on of hands of the elders. A word from God. I've got a word from God. I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Period. This is what I'm supposed to. I will not be deterred. I'm going forward. When God called us and told us to start Oasis, there were people that sat beside me and said, you don't need to do that. We don't need another church. I said, you're absolutely right. We don't need another one. We need this one. And we opened it at the wrong time. We opened it in January. I'm starting to plan out the anniversary service. This will be our 11th year. And Edica's already looking to see what the weather's going to be. Because you know what? We started it at the wrong time, Pastor Frank. We started it in snowstorms. That's when God said start it. So that's what we did. Then it says this in verse 15. Meditate on these things. Give yourself entirely to them, that your progress may be evident to all. So what I need to be able to do is once you develop and you know what that dream is, I need to be able to measure your progress. I need to be able to measure my progress of how am I doing in getting to and achieving that dream. My dream has always been to pastor pastors, to lead leaders, to help people achieve their dreams. Pastor Frank and I sat in here the other night, and a gentleman stood right here in this pulpit to practice teaching. I'm sitting here teaching people how to teach. That's a dream. And I'm watching it come true. And he said, well, Pastor Doug, that's only one. That's the first. And actually, some of you guys have been the first. DJ, Pastor Frank, we're kind of tough on those things. When I have these guys preach in the pulpit, they don't just stand up here and preach. You know what we do after that? We have this lovely thing called a video camera. We sit down, Pastor Frank loves this. And he's doing so much better. But you know, the challenge is, Rachel, do you like to hear your own voice on a recording? You know how many people are that way? You start off that way. You're just like, ooh. But you know what I've become? You guys are going to think, oh my God. I've become my favorite preacher. I have. I like listening to my stuff. I have listened to it so much and critiqued it so much and followed it so much that I love listening to my own stuff. It's God's stuff, I know that, but I preached it, okay? I watch the YouTube channel. Every one of those that has a hit on it, one of them's mine. I watch every one of them. And Brandon will tell you, if it's not up there when I think it should be, I call him. And I say, I'm trying to watch my favorite preacher and he's not there. Where is it at? But see, if I'm asking you to listen to me and I won't listen to me, there's a problem. If I don't like listening to me, why should I think you're going to like listening to me? When you hear a band that just absolutely stinks, everything's out of tune, and they couldn't carry a tune if you chained it to them and put a lid on the bucket, do you recommend your friends listen to them? No. You're like, ooh, you don't want to waste your money. You don't want to go there. So what I've done with these guys is I say, here's what I want you to do. I want you to watch your video, and I want you to critique yourself. This last time Pastor Frank came in, he had pages of notes. He's like, well, and you know what? We can now track progress, right? We can track the progress and where are we going? How are we getting there? What are we doing? And I've sat down. Randy is the guy. Randy just wrote a book that just came out. You guys will be hearing and seeing a whole lot more about it, called Freighter's Thicket, a thought model. All right. And he is in the process of putting the things together to teach this. So he comes in here and he's got his slide presentation. He's got everything and he teaches it. And we sit back and critique him. I count how many times did you say, filler words. That first sermon you did, how many times did we count you did that? Like 56 times in the first sermon. Do you want to sit and listen to somebody that goes, or talks to themselves? I know it's here somewhere in my notes. Just a minute, I'll find it. Just. You don't want to listen. If you walk into to Dan and you're going to take your instrument in, you've got my Con. I got a Con 10M. All right, lovely horn, beautiful horn. The sound that thing makes. If I want to take it, and I've not met Dan yet, and I take it in and I say, Dan, I need a new pad put on the G key. And he goes, G key, okay. I'm not going to give him my horn. Because you know what? If you don't know where the G's at, I'm not going to have you working on my stuff. If you go into the beautician, those of you who need to, some of us are beautiful without it, but those of you who need to go into the beautician and you say, I just need a little trim, and they say, well, I wonder if I should use the razor or if I should use the scissors. I'm just not sure. Call a friend. Are you going to let them come close to you with sharp objects to cut your hair? You're trusting that they've studied. You're trusting that they've passed their boards. You're trusting that they have their license. You're trusting that they've gone through these things, right? Well, for some reason in our life, we have these dreams and we just think they're just going to happen. They're not just going to happen. You have to give them attention. You have to not neglect them. Take heed to yourself and to the doctrines and continue in them. For doing this, you will save both yourself and those that hear you. This whole process, you know that there are people waiting on your dream to be fulfilled. Did you realize that? The gift that is in you, there's somebody waiting for that gift to come out. When Dr. John looked at us and told us that we needed to start this church, we had been at Christian Love Ministries for, 3 or 4 years and had been setting in the ministry there. And Dr. Washington was the pastor there at the time. When he took us out to dinner, and you guys know, I know the whole thing. I know where we sat in the restaurant. We were at Applebee's in Bridgeport, and he ordered orange chicken for me. I didn't even get the order. It was ordered by the time I got there. And Mike, we were sitting there, and he looked at me and said, Doug, there are people waiting for your gift. I don't want to see you in church again. Now, what are you going to do if I take you out to dinner and say, listen, your gifts that's in you is too great. Don't come back to church. And I went, what are you saying? He said, there's a group of people that are waiting for Pastor Doug to come back. Because, see, I'd hid from Pastor Doug because of my own hurts, my own problems. That dream that's in me, I hid from it. I put my studies away. I said, you know what? I can just be Doug. I can be the saxophone guy. Because that's what I was. I just played my horns. I could go to church. Nobody said, hey, Pastor Doug. No, it was just, aren't you the dude that plays the saxophone? It was great. And that's one of my gifts, but the gift that really was waiting to be launched was the teacher in me, that pastor that's in me. And he looked at me and said, enough. Don't come back. It blew my mind, Dan. I mean, I was just like, So I called a couple of friends. And I took them to eat. We always do everything around food, Pastor Frank. It's great. We went to Subway in Bridgeport. I bought their subs. I was cheap. But I bought their subs, and we sit down, and I said, guys, I'm going to start a church. Will you help? Pineapple, good friend, looked at me and said, about time. He was my best believer. He just knew I could succeed at everything. Tony, great friend. He lives in Ohio now. He was my practical guy. How you going to pay for it? So I had, whoo, about time, and I had, how you going to pay for it? It was both that I needed. I needed the cheerleader that says, you can do it. I needed that. But I also needed the practical that says, how are you going to pay for it? And then God blessed me with a wife that is so prophetic that it's scary. And she looked at me and said, this is what we'll do. We're going to turn the basement of the bakery into a church. I said, it looks like a basement. She said, not when I get done with it. So we went to Joann Fabric and we bought every piece of white fabric we could find. And staple guns. And we took the kids downstairs because we were homeschooling, we could do this. And we had an educational experience. We took and we stapled that white fabric to the ceiling of the basement. And it looked like clouds. So we didn't pull it tight, it kind of scalloped, It was really pretty neat. And I looked at it, I was like, this is okay. But there was a furnace right in the middle of the floor. So she went, no problem. So she went and got those things you change behind, the trifold things. She went and bought some of those and put it around it. And then we went, this blue chairs here. Eventually we bought those. We started with 10 metal chairs from Walmart. That was the size of my faith at the time. I had 10 metal chair faith. Okay? We went and we got them on sale. Woohoo! A week later, we had our first service. And there were my kids, Pineapple and his kids, and Tony and Debbie Bernardo. That was our church. And that's how we started. And it was the birth of my dream. Now, before this, I thought that Oasis, because I'd had this name for years, I thought Oasis was Oasis Christian Counseling. So I'd opened a business, Mike, thinking that was it. But when this dream really brought itself forward and I saw it, and I saw this church, and I began to see that this was going to be a place that you could come just as you are. So that's what we wrote underneath of the logo. Oasis Worship Center, come just as you are, where living waters flow. I don't expect you to be well. I don't expect you to be whole. I don't expect you to have it all together because I don't. So together, we're going to walk this thing. We're going to create an atmosphere where people can experience more of God, where people can achieve their dreams. We wrote this back in 2007, and I'm seeing it come true. It's progress. You know why we're seeing it come true? Because we didn't believe everybody else around us. We didn't listen to people when they said, oh, you can't do that. When this church became available, we were looking at it, and at that point in time, our income of the church was not enough to do this. It was like, so Etika said, you can do it, but you're not going to be able to take a salary. I was taking $400 a month at the time. You can't take a salary. So we said, fine, we'll give it back. So we didn't take a salary. We moved in here. And I've watched things grow and grow. So how do I know we're right? Because there's growth. If there was no growth, that would tell me my dream's dead. I probably should get another dream. But all of a sudden, people started coming. Some of you I've not been able to get rid of. But growth started happening. People started to grow. People started to dream. People started to experience. But you know what? That didn't stop people around them saying, you can't do that anymore, you're ruined. So I started calling this the land of the misfit toys. That's us. And people said, my mom, she said, you're disrespecting the people calling them that. I said, no, I'm not. Because you know what we are? We're a bunch of misfits. We're a bunch of people that don't have it all together and realize we don't have it all together, but we still have dreams. We still want to achieve. We still want to do. And you know what? God hasn't given up on me. I can be everything He's asked me to be, but I have to be available. I have to study. I have to work. I've already purchased the next 3 books that I'm going to read. You guys know how much I love to read. I didn't set the big lofty goal of 10 to 12 books a year. I set mine at 6. That gives me 2 months to read a book. For some of you, that's like, that's easy. I can do it in 2 minutes. Well, God bless you. Read a bunch of them. Me, I work my way through them. And I know that in my life, there are things that I needed to do. So I took the inheritance from my mother, and I got my doctorate degree. Most people didn't understand. I said, well, Doug, why do you want your doctorate degree? Look at it doesn't make any sense. I needed it for my dream. I needed it for the progress of my dream. And in that progress of my dream, I began to learn this is what you need to do to lead people. This is what you need to do first to lead yourself. Because you know you can't lead people if you can't lead yourself. You know that? I mean, if you can't get directions and all you do is walk in circles, eventually people might start following and walking in circles. Or you know, you can do that test where you stand in the middle of the mall and you look at the ceiling. Eventually somebody's crazy enough to come on side of you and say, I wonder what he's looking at. And then you start getting a crowd. You're not going anywhere, but people are following you. People want to follow. People are waiting to follow you. But are you going to be a sky gazer? What are you looking at? I don't know. Well, why are you looking at it? Because he is. Well, why is he looking at it? I don't know. But we're looking. But what if we had purpose with our looking? What if we could say, why are you looking at that? Because there's my dream. Well, what made you start looking at it? He did. So what are you doing? We're trying to figure out how to get there. What do I have to build to get there? So what do? I get this book called Who's Holding Your Ladder? In other words, who's going to support you and how are they going to support you to climb where you need to climb? You know you can only climb as high as the people that are supporting you. I need you because my dream's here. And if I try to go here by myself, I fall, go boom. I hurt myself. But with your help and your support, I go here. And you know what happens? I hold your ladder. And where do you go? You go here. And together we climb where we're supposed to climb. But if you're not willing to put the time in, if I'm not willing to put the time in, what do? The dream makes you sick. So as I was praying about this, I was saying, God, I've preached this before. I've preached this before. He said, you have. And if Alice was here, she would tell you exactly what Sunday, because she keeps a log of everything I preach. So I went over into Hebrews chapter 5. And I'm going to admonish just a little bit. Pastor Frank noticed last week there's a little bit of boldness in what I've been saying lately. It's a little, there comes a point when you have the confidence to know that what you're speaking is truth and you don't apologize for the truth. So here's the truth. You ready? For though by this time you ought to be teachers. We've been in church long enough. Melissa, how long have you been in church? Long time. Okay? We got 30-some years. All right? I was literally born on a Friday and in church on Sunday. I've been in church for 49 years. People laugh about that, but it's true. The little carrier that mother carried me in sat on the organ bench. I've been at this for 49 years. Okay? Melissa's been at it for 30. We're not going to tell you how old she is. Okay? We've been at these things for years. Why are we not teaching? Why are you not teaching this principle? Why are you not helping people advance? Why haven't you experienced the fullness of your dream yet? Because we get sidetracked by life. We get derailed by people around us. We give up on it. We say, oh, it can't be. Pick that dream up and dust it off. Dust that thing off. Because the call of God is without repentance. He didn't go, oops, I didn't mean that. Sorry, psych. He doesn't do that. He put that dream on you. He said, now you ought to be teaching this. So maybe you need somebody to teach this to you again. It's right here, verse 12. The first principles of the oracles of God. And you have come to need milk and not solid food. For everyone who partakes of only milk is unskilled in the words of righteousness, and he is a babe. You know what he was nicely telling them? You're a kid. You need to grow up. We need to go after the meat of God. But solid food belongs to those who are of full age. Listen, I like a glass of milk, but if I got a choice between a glass of milk and a steak, a porterhouse, ooh, get out the way. Medium to medium well, a little pink after, oh, hallelujah. I'm going after the meat. I want the fullness of everything that there is. And you know what? That's how I want to be. I want the fullness of what God has for me. I want to experience all of it. So to get that, to get a glass of milk, somebody pours it to you, you drink it. It's over. But to have the meat, you got to cut that thing up. It's work. It's work. And when they're children, what's really fun is Lauren posted a picture the other day of lunch at her house. Malachi is learning to eat with a spoon. And I'm not sure, what was he eating? It was avocado something probably. All right? And this kid has this stuff everywhere and he's just happy. He's happy. And he gets to the point where the bottle's not enough. You feed him the bottle and he's like, what was that? Come on. Everybody else is eating. Are you tired of seeing everybody else experience the fullness of God? The blessings of God's on their life. And I'm like, why, God? Because they're willing to put in the work. They're willing to put in the prayer. They're willing to put in the study. They're willing to put in everything that it takes to get where they need to go. I want the meat of God. I want the solid. For the solid belongs to those who are full age. That is, to those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. Whew. I've studied, Pastor Frank. I've studied. I put the time in. I'm doing what's necessary to make it. I can remember when Lauren first started taking sign language lessons. Every conversation we had, she signed, and it drove me nuts. Everything that was going on, she signed. There was even a point in time at the basement church, at the bakery church, where she would sit on the end of the row of chairs, and she would sign my sermons. Because I told her one day we're going to need that. It's a dream. It has been a dream. It's been derailed a few times, hasn't it? A few times. And you know what? That's not a sad thing. The only way it's a sad thing is if we don't pick it up and dust it off and do something with it. She's my daughter. I can talk to her like that, right? She'll go back and tell her mom, you can't believe what Dad just did to me. Let me make it real simple. This is mentoring. Ready? She's my daughter. I love her with all of my heart. Did God give you the gift to sign? When did you hang your posters of sign language? Kindergarten. What are you doing signing right now? Quit it. Sign. Sign what? Everything. Teach your daughter to sign. Everything. What other daughter or son do I have in here I can yell at? Melissa turned around because she knows I'm coming right there. You ready? Mikey knows. I don't even have to go. What do you need to do, Mike?
Make sure.
Keeping me in frame. What do you need to do? What's sitting in my house right now waiting on you? What is it? What now? Come on. What's there? Your studio's there. You put the work in. You got the masters. Dust it off. You don't want me to go, do you, Melissa? You know where I'm at. Listen, I'm experiencing this myself. There are things that I have to dust off. There's things that I have to learn to do. Because you know what? God gave it to me. I don't have the right not to use it. It's His gift. I don't have the right to say no. So I need mentors in my life. And believe me, I got some tough ones. I got some you don't want. I got some you might need. But I'm telling you this. You can't be that teacher and be that mentor until you go there yourself. So these things that I'm saying, the fingers that I'm pointing, the things that I'm doing myself. Physically, I'm doing it myself. I don't like going to the gym. I'm there 3 days a week. Out of bed at 5 o'clock, I'm there by 5:45. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I take pictures every once in a while just to prove it, because people don't believe I'm really doing it. I'm there, and if I need to, I can get the punch record, because you know you have to use a little fob and go beep. I'm really here. I'm doing it. We went out to eat the other night, and Etika said, "Here, you want the change?" I said, "No." "Lauren, do I always take the change?" "I always want to, because I want money on my wallet. I just feel better that way." But you know what the problem is, Sarah? if I've got the money on my wallet, I stop and get a biscuit. I don't need a biscuit. I want a biscuit. I feel God all over the biscuit, but I don't need the biscuit. So I looked at her and went, no, I don't want to change. I want to change. No, I don't need to change because I need to change. So every day, I do my best to read 10 pages in my book. Every day. The next thing I've done is those that I'm mentoring and working with, get ready, you're getting ready to get a book. Pastor Frank got his yesterday. And I said, order this book. I'm not going to buy it for you because you need to invest in it. Okay? Order this book. We're going to meet once a week. Read one chapter a week, answer the questions at the end of it. And his is on growth because I know what his vision is. Sarah's getting ready to get one.
I just bought one.
You're getting ready to get one, though. The title of it is Make Today Count. That's my first go-to. When you're going to learn whether or not you want me to mentor you, this is the book we'll start with. It'll cost you about $8.60. It's not bad. Just a little, not even a real thick book. But by the end of it, we're going to know whether or not we have a mentoring relationship, whether or not this thing will work, whether or not I can help you achieve the dream. Because I've sat with Sarah, and I know dreams that she has that people have talked her out of. I know a dream that the two of them have had together. That would be Lauren and Sarah. But Lauren's not doing her sign language, and Sarah's not doing her business. She's got her degree in education. Lauren would have had her degree in education with a specialist in sign language. But she has her Regents degree with a certificate in sign language. So the study's there. Now we just got to beat the dream and wake it back up. Because you know why? God didn't change his mind. You guys are like, I'm not coming to church no more. He's picking on me. The Charlie Brown syndrome has to go. We got to grow up. I want to see the dream that you have fulfilled so that you live happy, satisfied. That when you get up every day, you're lifed. You go, it's another day. It's not, oh, it's Monday. You wake up waiting to do the next thing that God has for you to do. Wake up every day telling myself this, I will do it today. This is how I'm waking up every morning to tell myself, I will do it today. Because the worst enemy of success is procrastination. When are you going to do your dream? Someday. How many times have you said it or heard it? When are you going to do it? Someday. Why not today? What's the difference in today and someday? You. You're the difference. Someday will always be someday until you change your mind and say, today. Today, I'm going to do it. What am I going to do? I'm going to take the steps necessary. I'm going to talk to the bank. I'm going to seek God for the financing. I'm going to get his wisdom on everything that I'm supposed to do. I'm going to study. I'm going to increase my personal library. And then, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to find somebody that I can impart myself to, that I can teach this to. Because you know what, the best thing in the world is when Sarah takes this book she's getting ready to order, and she goes through it, and then it's time for her to mentor, she turns around and says, I need you to order this book. And we mentor, and we train, and we go, and we get the resources necessary to achieve the dream. So, step one, Identify the dream. Identify it. Don't be tempted to talk yourself out of it. Most of you sitting in here already know what the dream is, but have packed it away to keep it safe. You know what God says about that servant? Foolish. So, do you want to be a fool? If so, leave the dream packed. You want to be miserable? Leave the dream packed. But what if I fail, Pastor? Woo-hoo! You failed doing what you love. We'll start again. John Maxwell has a book series out there. It's called Failing Forward. Great title for a book, isn't it? Failing Forward. It's only a failure if you don't learn from it. So we go on. So where's the next great worship song that's waiting to be written? Where's the next great book that's waiting to be written? I can tell you there's one sitting in my office right now that Randy just finished. This book will absolutely, positively change your whole life because it confronts the one area that we all have problems with, our mind. Thoughts, how they work. So he looked at me, he said, "Do you think this is for everybody?" I said, "Absolutely." So where's that book? Where's the next great evangelist that's going to win thousands? Pastor Frank. Where's he at? Where's that business that's waiting to happen? Who's the next Apple? Who's going to be the CEO? Where are they coming from? If you guys watched my Facebook, you saw I posted Coach Lou Holtz on there the other day. Love Lou. A little hard to listen to. You know? He said, "I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth in Folmsby, West Virginia. We had one bedroom for my brother, or my sister, myself, my mom, and my dad. We had a bath and a half, or a half bath and a kitchen. That's all we had, but I had a silver spoon in my mouth." He said, "I've always had plenty to eat, because every time I asked for seconds, my dad said, 'No, you've had plenty.' The silver spoon came because Mom and Dad taught me that I could achieve anything I wanted to achieve through education and hard work." He became one of the greatest college football coaches in history. He took the University of Notre Dame to 4 or 5 consecutive January 1st bowls. No other team has ever done it before. And he says no other team will do it again because now they don't have those bowls. But he did it all. And he never lost his desire to coach. Even when he left Notre Dame, he said, "What am I going to do when I leave Notre Dame?" He said, "To my mom, that's easy. You leave Notre Dame, you go to heaven, set by the Pope." That's the extent of it. But no, he got a desire to coach. So he went and coached again in college. And now he's coaching men to be good leaders. So I'm here to tell you, it does not matter. How many of you know where Folmsby, West Virginia is? If you blink, you miss it. We're talking little town. Do you realize that the 2 most successful college football coaches right now, one comes from Marion County and one comes from Harrison County, West Virginia? Florida State's head football coach graduated from Liberty High School. One of the largest churches in the United States is pastored by a man from Charleston, West Virginia. Most of you know him as T.D. Jakes. So don't tell me that God can't do great things from West Virginia. You know why I know he can do great things from West Virginia? I'm here. And there's going to be great things in my life. And you're here. There's going to be great things come out of your life. T.D. Jakes was asked one time to pray for a young preacher. You guys have heard me say this. This young preacher walks up to him and says, I want what you got. Will you pray for me? Bishop Jakes says, absolutely. He said, God, repossess his car. Turn off his power. Foreclose on his home. And the guy's like, whoa, wait a second. You can't pray that. Or he said, to get what I have, you got to go where I've been. In other words, you got to be willing to pay the price. When things don't look good, I'm going forward. Success, the road to success is all uphill. Everybody's like, success is not easy. Success is work. You have to put the time in. You've got to be, what happens when you get discouraged? You have people around you that push you. Continually push you. Continually push you. I can't sit down and stop because there's people behind me pushing. I've got to move. Are you willing to pay the price for the dream? So hopefully over the next week or so when I look at you and I walk up to you and I say, what book are you reading? You're going to be able to look at me and tell me that I'm studying equestrian and I'm reading a book on training horses. See, I'm not talking about all reading leadership books. I'm talking about studying your dream. Your dream. You want to see a library? Come to my house and see Etica's cookbooks. We say we're going to rearrange the house or do whatever. It takes a month to move the cookbooks. I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. But most of you have reaped the benefits of those cookbooks. She's good at it. She's good at it. Study. Are you a 2 Timothy 2:15 person? Are you a 2 Timothy 2:15 person? Father God, I submit it to you today. I thank you so much for your word. Lord, I stand here today a man that has big dreams. Big dreams that I believe are from you. Lord, I commit myself new every day to walk out that dream, to continue to work, to continue to educate myself, to continue to read, to continue to study, to continue in prayer, being guided and directed by you, Father. Lord, I submit it to you, and I thank you in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. Amen.